Right, so I'll outline the 3D DIY 3D printer project for you, give you an idea how I expect to do this and how I'm going to keep the price down. I've got a few ideas how I can do this, and so we'll have a look at the bits that I'm thinking about using. So instead of using very expensive tracks and systems, I'm going to use effectively these, which are standard draw runners. Now this one's got a rather nice blue system on the end that causes it to be a bit sticky to start with, but all I will do is I'll just take that piece out, so we've then just got a nice sliding arrangement. And the nice thing is that despite the fact that these are cheap as chips, I think these are about £7 a piece, the level of accuracy that they're produced to is phenomenal because they're produced in such high quantities. And so basically you can get what is effectively a very simple tracking system, very accurate. It's very little slop in this. There's less slop in it than you would even get from a professional rail system, and they're absolutely cheap as anything. And instead of mounting them flat or vertically, I intend to mount them about 45 degrees is the idea, so that you're getting a double efficiency where they not only is it vertically strong, but it's horizontally strong. I may end up mounting them vertically. I've got to say, well, I'll do some experimenting before we come back with the first stage, which will be the bed, and we'll see where that goes. So for the actual processor stroke piece of hardware, I'm going to go for the ramp system, partly because that is a nice steady system. I don't know anything about it. It looks like the system that people use. We've got a lot of these around. They do seem to be fairly well respected, and I think the whole thing that you see there was £37 off eBay. Lying, it was off Amazon, and so basically that arrived on Friday. Disappointing that it comes with no software. I'm going to say it comes with no software, and it is quite obvious that we're going to have to go through quite a configuration process, but perhaps that makes the project more fun, perhaps it makes it a little bit more effort, and it also gives me something to talk about that you can listen to. I also have, which came as a spare, a GBRL board. Now then, I've got to say that I have a little GBRL board that I use for drilling PCBs, a little GBRL based engraving machine. I use it for drilling PCBs, and I've got to say, for what you pay for that little board, it is astounding what it can do. And there is a possibility that that will potentially run a 3D printer too, because they maintain that it'll run a 3D printer, a laser, etc, etc, and it might be worth a try just to see what we can get with that at some stage. But that is one of the alternatives out there. Now then, we'll have a look at some of the other bits that came with the project, which are the end stops, the fairly standard end stops. As I say, I've got quite a few other 3D printers that I use, and I've used these as spares. I mean, we started out with the MakerBots. If it's somewhere online, there's a whole tutorial about solving the problems with the X-axis on the MakerBot, because they used to have issues. And then, just to show that, just like everybody else, I have a pile of projects. That's a 1.4 ramps board that I don't think I've ever used. Bought it with a view to building a 3D printer some time ago, and so I thought, well, I'll get an up-to-date one, not realising how little the ramps has moved on. So that's an old 1.4. I might make a second machine with that. May offer it as a prize. I'm going to say, one of the things I'm doing with these projects is prizes. That's the hot end that I decided I was going to buy. It looks a nice little hot end system, and one of the things I learnt with the Creality systems is that using a piece of PTFE pipe and pushing the filament through it is quite an acceptable way of getting it to the hot end. It also means that it does quite a nice job. You can actually take a lot of the weight out of the head, because you can actually put your pushing system right off onto the Z-axis if need be. These are what I intend. One of these is what I intend to use for pushing the actual wire filament through. I've had these a long time, again back down to when I was going to build a system before. They are one of the best systems I've seen for pushing filament, and but they are designed really to have a hot end on there, so I may have to modify them slightly to actually make sure they push properly into the system, but if not, we'll have a look at buying one online. You can see that when this one came, it actually had a hot end with it, and so like I say, I may need to make an extended thread to pick the filament up, but we'll worry about that as we go deeper in. These I don't know whether these are spares or whether they're other projects I didn't go for, but like I say, we'll be looking at adding some prizes into the thing for people that subscribe at a later as we go on. And so the other idea that I thought of was the Z-axis, because you don't need a lot of movement, you're actually moving a fraction each time. Putting a lot of weight onto the Z is theoretically not a problem, as long as you've got something that lifts it with ease. And so I came to the conclusion that what I'm going to do is use threaded bar. This is stainless steel threaded bar, 8mm, and there will be a relation. I think it's 1.25 mil, about 0.75. Long time since I've looked at the spec of an 8mm bar, but that each individual twist on there will be a relationship in millimeters, and the idea is I think I will probably machine a PTFE nut to go on there to go up and down, so that the actual motors don't need to do a lot to be able to move this up and down to actually get your Z moving up and down. But it also means we theoretically could put a lot of weight on that Z-axis, so because we've got such a high leverage system. So that's the thinking so far, that what we've, oh yes, and power supply, yeah, so we're going to need a power supply. So that's the thinking so far as to where I've got with it. The first thing I need to do now is sit down with the draw runners, and like I say, because they've got this blue piece in, and it's how easy that is to take out. It's a nice little clever system, but what it does is it's a sprung start. There's obviously some system of opening and shutting drawers that is a sort of a spring shut, or maybe it pulls it too, I don't know. It's probably a final closing system. It's not something we're going to want, but the nice thing is that, like I said, these drawers, because they will go a long way, we could theoretically build an enormous printer. It also means that you can buy some fairly thin, fairly cheap bits and bats and solve all your movement problems. So that's the idea, and what I'll do is I'll have a look round and decide what the prize is going to be for this video, and come back to you with after these messages. They're not going to be messages, but just something to edit it through one to the other. Right, so what I've decided to do is actually offer two prizes. It's really the same prize twice, but two of them. So what we're going to have is a Mega, which what we'll do is we'll actually just plug that in to prove that it runs. Yeah, so it looks like it's running okay, and so that's an old, well, it's an actual proper Arduino Mega, and then that's a SainSmart board that sits on the top and gives you everything as a breakout. So you've literally got breakout after breakout after breakout of every pin that's on there, and what that allows you to do then is literally almost, it turns the Mega into like a breadboard, and you can literally plug servos. And the way it's worked out is, like I mentioned in previously, you've got ground voltage signal all the way through, and it even tells you the actual pin numbers on there, so you can see which pins you're going into. Apologies. Now then, I've got to say, there's a pin bent there. I apologise. These have just come out of my, I won't say scrap bin, but my old parts bin. These are probably, may have been on a job here. I've done something, but they're sort of prizes I've seen, They're not guaranteed to make it's done. Like I said, I only know the UART's working. I hope it's working. I think it's working. It's sent in good faith, hoping that you get something out of it. If nothing else, you could stick another Mega under there, and that would that's just a breakout board. It would solve a problem. And then same thing again, except these are two here. I'm not going to take it apart, and we'll just make sure that one works. As much as you can tell, that one boots up, so at least the UART's working on them both. The way it's going to work is that between now and posting the next video, anybody that subscribes, I presume there'll be a way to get back to you. I've never done this before, so this will be interesting. I'll just randomly go on the screen, and whoever's subscription I land on, there'll be I presume there's a way of messaging you and give you an email to come back to or something like that, and you send me your address and I will throw that in a little jiffy bag, and wherever in the world you are, it'll wend its way to you. No guarantees, I've got to say. I'm not guaranteed it's going to get there, I'm not guaranteed it's going to get there, but you will post it, and I will have proof of postage just for fun, just so you know how to. I'll send it on its merry way, and hopefully it'll get there to you, and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah. So here endeth the first project. I apologise for the lighting. I've only just thrown this together so far, and I really don't want to spend any more time on it. I want to get this first part launched. It looks like I've got a halo. I'm burning out terribly because this is just workshop lighting. I haven't really had a chance to set it up for TV. I've got a bit of work to do in that respect, but we'll come back to that. I could do some heating as well. I can see my breath. It's a bit cold over here in January. We'll get this all together. I'll get the work done on at least the base, and then we'll look at setting up the Z and X so that we can see how that runs. I'll then by then have some ideas how I'm going to do the bridge, well, let's have some fun. Thank you.